So welcome to WTF Stories and Advice. I am Caroline Cranshaw.
And I'm Daryl Gove.
Daryl is back and badder than ever.
I'm very excited to be back. I'm a little bit moist at the prospect of spending more time with you.
Okay. When a man says he's moist, I think he has a leaky ass. Is that correct?
No, it's more like sweat and nerves. I'm like, what are we going to get today? How creepy is it going to be? Am I going to be sweating with fear?
Okay, so it's not a anal leakage or anything?
No, but that wouldn't be bad if it was. If you have anal leakage, please don't feel embarrassed, but do go and see your naturopath or GP.
Good advice. Okay, so this is a small sample of kind of the random crap that we'll be talking about. I am a hypnotherapist, and Daryl is a hypnotherapist. So we're just going to hypnotize the shit out of you guys. You won't know what's hit you, but not really. No. We have spent the weekend teaching.
What a blast. It was so much fun.
Oh, well, yeah. So we teach hypnotherapy. We started a new group this weekend, and they were amazing. It went so well. So it was just such a good feeling that you don't get any kind of weirdos or annoying people on your course. I like weirdos personally, but you know what I mean, when they just don't quite click with your energy.
It's really nice when you have a group of people that come together to learn, and they're all intelligent, they're all in touch with their emotions, they're able to bond and connect and form a really cool group. And it made this weekend really, really fun for me.
Mm. So then we thought we should get on the mic and have a bit more fun because we're together, and why not?
Exactly.
So we
can't laugh at our viewers.
Okay. We got a question. I'm going to keep a straight face while I read it. There's not a lot of context, but I had to read it because I just went, okay. Here's the question. My clit hurts, but I'm still horny. What do I do?
If we're going to laugh at people's problems, they're not going to write to us anymore. We're laughing at the brevity of it.
Yeah. So,
are you distressed?
I'm sorry that your clit hurts. I'm assuming you're talking about your clitoris. That's the assumption I'm making. Maybe I should write back to this person and be like, can you give us more information? So, I guess the question to ask is it inflamed? Do you have an infection? Have you been having too much sex or too much stimulus of your clitoris? What do you think, Daryl?
Well, I think that the first thing, whenever we have a pain or something that feels off, we should get it checked out.
But do you go to the doctor and say, hey, my clit hurts? I'd like to make an appointment. Okay, what for? My clit hurts, but I'm still horny. I'm sorry if this is your question. We shouldn't be laughing.
We'll probably need to start this again, but sexual health clinic, your local sexual health clinic or GP, and then say, I have a pain. I'm sore. And when he asks where, you point in there. You could say my clitoris, and get it checked out, get it looked at, because there could be something wrong. You know, if you have a pain in a body part and you don't know what's causing it, it could be something wrong. If it's just overuse, so you've been, I don't know, using one of these new fancy sex toys that is causing a bit too much friction.
Yeah, well, the latest sex toy that women are all obsessed with, and I'm always hearing about, there's several different brands, but what it does instead of vibration is it does suction. And you apply it to over your clitoris, and it does this suction and kind of pulsing, and apparently it makes you have an orgasm in less than a minute.
Wow.
It is just boom, done. So maybe she's just been doing too much suction. You want to be careful. Can suction cause an enlargement?
I don't know a lot about clitorises, to be fair, not from personal experience.
Have you ever even touched one, Daryl?
No, not on purpose.
Not on purpose, but by accident?
Well, no, I did have a girlfriend when I was 14.
Yeah.
And obviously, when we were 14, we didn't do anything. So
you didn't feel her vajayjay?
Definitely did not feel her vajayjay.
Yeah.
And that's not what turned me gay. No. No, so Claire says I don't have experience. I've obviously looked at the anatomy, the female anatomy when studying anatomy and things like that. But as far as what I would have to do to a clitoris to make it have a good time, I'd be guessing. I'd be thinking something to do with the tongue. And that doesn't feel like that would cause friction.
I mean, maybe, yeah. The other thing is, I mean, it could be caused by thrush or candida. It could be caused by overuse. There's women who have disorders where they have too many orgasms, or they can orgasm from brushing their teeth. I've had some clients with some really interesting kind of triggers for orgasms, and it can be a nervous system response. But I think also it could be a sign of a sex addiction. Maybe there's something in them is driving them to want to have many, many orgasms, and they're just having a bit too much fun. So my advice is maybe try to leave it alone and see if it calms down a little bit. And if it doesn't, if maybe have a look at it, like get a mirror, look at your vagina, look at your clitoris, or your vulva, I guess is the correct term. The vagina is just literally the hole, or the entrance, but the vulva is the whole encompassing with the clitoris and the labia. And so get a mirror and have a look. If it looks really red and swollen and raw, I probably would go and see a doctor, or make sure you don't have a thrush infection. If there's a bit of cottage cheese on the taco, you might want to get some medication for that.
And if you do end up having candida or thrush, then one of the things that I think about is that, because everybody has it all the time.
Yes.
It's always present in the body. And if it has overgrown, I'm thinking, why is your immune system letting that happen? So have you had too much sugar? Is your immune system weak from not enough sleep or too much stress? And so even though...
Too much alcohol and drugs.
Too much alcohol, drugs. If you take something to kind of clear it, it's going to come back unless you address the underlying issues. So, see a naturopath for something like that, or
a doctor.
Or a doctor. Just think about eating right, getting rest, cutting out your sugar and too much alcohol and drugs, and hopefully that helps. But for the diagnosis, that's where you go to your GP for sure.
Yes. And the other thing is, I mean, I don't know where this person is from, but it could be, a lot of our listeners are from the States, so it could be winter and very cold, so you're wearing a lot of layers, maybe some tight jeans. You could be wearing synthetic underwear. It's very good to wear undies that are more cotton, more breathable.
I was going to ask if, like, chafage or the wrong material of knickers could cause it to be inflamed, but I didn't want to show my lack of knowledge of the female anatomy, but if that was totally out of the question.
If you want to know anything about penises, Daryl's your man. Okay, well, hopefully that answers your question. I'm sorry we got the giggles, but it's just the way it was framed.
I think we've left out just perhaps the main part of it is she still wants to have sex.
Or she's still horny.
She's still horny. She still wants to satisfy that. So I think get it sorted, and then you can satisfy yourself all you want. Yes.
Or maybe just do more penetration. Stay away from your clit. Maybe your clitoris is telling you something that it needs a little bit of a break.
I liked it when we were talking about erectile dysfunction, and you said that sometimes a limp dick could be a sign of, like, a barometer that I don't want this. This isn't safe. And maybe your clitoris is telling you, like, don't go there.
Well, who's touching it? Maybe your clitoris isn't happy with who's touching it. Or the other thing is that people can be allergic to each other. I had a client whose hands kept peeling, and what he figured out was his fingers and stuff, and he was allergic to his girlfriend's vaginal juices.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like they ended up breaking up, but I think it's just interesting how we can kind of react differently to other people. So you could be allergic to whoever's touching your clitoris, possibly, or using their tongue on it, their saliva.
Yeah.
And if they're not human, that could cause some issues as well.
Hopefully we're not dealing with that. I do want you to, can you write back, please, and give us some more information if you haven't blocked us for laughing? And because I would really want to know a bit more if possible, and if you got it sorted out.
Yeah. Well, we can reply to the email, and yeah,
Great.
I'm sure it'll get better. The body's an amazing thing and can heal pretty much anything. So, do you have a story to tell, Daryl?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a story that I heard it a lot growing up, and I was having a chat around the dining table with my mum recently, and she told me the story and gave me permission to share it, of something that happened to her when I was young. And I think you'll find it quite interesting.
Okay.
So it starts with just the usual being at home, a couple of parents, a few kids. Yeah, they were really young parents. And they heard this strange ticking sound. Like a clock, but different. And it was just going tick, 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 tick. And it was at night time. And of course they're thinking, okay, so it's a clock or it's a watch. So they...
Or a bomb.
Or, well, in Scotland, we don't think about that kind of thing. You know, we feel quite safe. But they looked for this tick. Where's it coming from? And they kind of got to the area where it was coming from, and then it moved. And so like, okay, what's this? So they followed it round, and it actually led them all around the house. And could it have been some kind of insect? I don't know. There's nothing I know of in Scotland that makes that tick. But anyway, it kind of creeped them out quite a lot. The next day, these phone calls started happening. So my mum would get these phone calls from this woman who was threatening to kill her children, to murder them, if she didn't go into the window and perform sexual acts on herself.
Oh my God.
So,
a woman was saying this.
This came from a woman. Yeah. Tick,
tick, tick. It wasn't like a camera.
Well, we still don't know about the tick.
Okay.
But it's gonna frame the story that the ticking happened.
Yeah.
It was creepy. There was a creepy feeling, a creepy energy. And then the next day, she starts getting these calls.
Saying, go to the window and play with your titties or I'm going to kill your kids, basically.
Basically that.
Oh my
basically
God.
that.
Well, your mum has a good rack. She does. It's impressive.
I'm sure she'll thank you for the compliment.
I hope I look that good at her age. Yes.
So she was... I remember this moment of time. I didn't know what was happening on the phone, but I knew that there was lots of tension in the air every time the phone rang. And I knew that sometimes I would answer the phone and there'd be no one there. I knew that Mum got very, very stressed. And I remember at night time, because it went on for a while.
How old was your parents would have been, or your mother?
Also, I would have been about 5, I'm guessing, maybe 4. So my mum would have been about 25.
Yeah,
25.
so young.
So young, and with at least 3 kids by then. I can't remember if my youngest sister was born, but there was at least 3 boys by then. And so I remember at the time, we'd be taken home by the headmaster of our primary school. So we'd be escorted home. The police were involved, but they could never track her. You know, this is back in the 80s, so we didn't have the means to
stay on the line with the whatever it is, to trace the call and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it didn't happen quickly. And yet we stayed in our home, and we got escorted to and from school. And I remember at night time we would hang pots and pans on the door handle and put more pots and pans on the floor.
Oh.
So that if somebody tried the handle in the night, even tried it, the pans would drop and we'd all wake up.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never thought of that. Yeah. Because, I guess, so in Scotland, the handles are kind of like these straight lines or something? Because in the States, they're just normally round, right?
Right, yeah. It's like a flat thing that you kind of pull down to open. And like when we were kids, I say we, but not me. The local kids used to go around and they would get people's milk bottles and they'd balance it on the door handle on the outside.
Yeah.
So when people went to collect their fresh milk in the morning and they opened the door, the milk would fall and smash.
Oh, that's a delightful thing to do.
Yeah, people were a bit bored and mean. Actually, one of those boys is now in jail for murder, but that's another story. It was a scary time, and it went on for quite a while.
I bet.
Long enough that even from all these years in the distance, I can remember it being a presence that didn't end. Mm-hmm. And it really, really, really affected my mum, of course, and my dad. And one day, Mum just says, "Look, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. We have to leave."
So how long do you think it went on for?
I'd have to guess. It felt like months, maybe 3 months. It could have been a month.
Yeah.
But
But was it happening every day?
I remember it as being a daily occurrence or every other day. But again, my memory is that as a 30-year-old memory
going back. And what did the woman sound like?
Deep voice.
So do you think it really was a woman, or could it have been a man pretending to be a woman?
Well, they didn't know initially.
Okay.
But actually, they caught her.
Yes.
So after we decided to leave, we went to my grandmother's house, who had a 1-bedroom bungalow, so a tiny little house in the same village, but we always felt safe there. And there was like 5 of us in one bed and like 3 in the next one, just squeezing in together. And that night that we left, we heard that ticking again.
Oh, God.
Tick,
At
tick,
your grandparents
tick,
now.
At my grandparents now. And then it's the same thing. They followed that ticking around the house. Now, of course, I'm saying, okay, so you had a watch and it was ticking when you went. But
it's on your wrist.
They're like, no, we checked that. There was definitely not a watch. After that ticking that night, the woman was caught and the call stopped. And we don't know what the ticking is, but Mum believed that it was like a warning. It was warning her. And then also it was letting her know that whatever was going on was finished.
Okay.
And that's just
beginning and end.
Beginning and end. It framed it from the beginning to the end. It was a woman across the road.
Who really wanted to see your mother perform sex acts.
Who really wanted to see my mum. Yep. And maybe she was jealous. Maybe she had a crush. I don't know. But she was caught and it stopped. So, yeah.
Wow. How did they catch her?
I don't know how she was caught. I can only imagine that they looked at my village, which is a very small village. Like I'm talking about maybe 1,000 people at the time. And they looked at where my house was, which was opposite a park. Yeah. And there was another big row of houses, including the minister's house, where my best friend lived. And think, who can see into their bedroom window?
That's, powers of deduction, yes.
And then most of the people living across the road were really old. It was almost a retirement community. So they could probably narrow it down again to the profile of who's the kind of person that's going to threaten the life of a child. Yeah.
And who's a woman who kind of fits that description or has that kind of voice or,
Exactly.
Were they ever able to record the voice? Probably not.
Not from my knowledge. I can find out more, but you know, when you hear these kind of stories from your parents, usually they kind of edit it for your listening. And I did hear it years ago, but I actually came in with another angle when I heard it recently. And I said, Mum, did you do it? Did you go in the window? And she's like, no. I'm like, what? You'd let them fucking kill us? I was like, you should have done it. No, she was very confident in the police and in the systems we put in place to be safe. So
what happened to the woman? Do you know?
Did
she go to jail or anything?
Well, she wasn't in the village anymore, so I assume that's what happened. We had a mental hospital in our village, literally in it, and it was an open mental hospital. So it had a locked ward where you could put the criminally insane or the people that tried to escape. But it also had lots of open wards where people could come and go and walk around the village as they please. So it was, possibly somebody from Sunnyside.
Sunnyside. Yeah. I remember your mother telling the story of how she was walking into a shop and I think she was looking at the clothes and trying on clothes, and you and your brother came in and were like, oh, there you are. Oh, she's escaped from the mental ward, and like marching her out like she was and she's like, I'm not crazy. And you're like, that's what she always says. I'm really sorry. And your poor mother was like, she was so embarrassed because and then she couldn't go back to the shop because you guys had pretended that she was a crazy person.
Yeah, we used to do that a lot.
Maybe not a crazy person, that might be, having some mental health issues.
Yeah, exactly. In this mental hospital, people were hospitalized for depression. They were locked up because they were sad, and they were given electric shock treatment because they wouldn't stop crying. So it's quite sad, the history of it. 3 of my grandparents were nurses there, so I can share some more stories another time. But
wow. Oh, well, that's a bit of a creepy story, but at least there's an ending. There's some resolution. It'd be harder if you just went, and we never found out who it was. And that was it. You know what I mean? Those stories are like, oh, God, but at least the woman was found. God, that's just nuts.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of sick fuck does that?
There's a lot of sick fucks in the world. That's why we're so busy. No, I'm just kidding. Shouldn't say that. We worked with the Worried Well. All my clients are amazing. But there's certainly people out there that you just, I don't know, natural selection, I think, should be more selective. Well, it takes all kinds. And I guess without people like that, you wouldn't have interesting stories like this.
Exactly. There's always a silver lining.
I find our biggest traumas can be some of our best stories. Well, a friend of mine is a stand-up comedian. And she's doing really well, like amazing. She is so funny. She just decided one day she was going to become a stand-up comedian. And she is just nailing it. So recently we went along to one of her shows. She was the opening act. She killed it. People were hysterical. It was fantastic. And then the headliner came on stage. And this guy has won several awards.
Yeah.
He's done very well. I'd never heard of him before. And he starts talking about fetishes and different things that he's into. And he's not that funny, right? We're kind of going, haven't really laughed yet. And he starts talking about his latest fetish. And his fetish and what kind of porn he likes to watch. And he said his latest thing that he has been watching, he's like, well, what I'll do is I'll play you an audio of it. I won't explain it, but I'll just play you a bit of an audio.
I'm scared.
Okay, it takes a lot to shock me, right? Like, I have heard it all. And this was some next level shit. So this audio comes on, and it's this man and this woman kind of talking. And this guy is like, well, we've made a special smoothie for you to drink. And the girl's like, oh, really? What kind of smoothie is it? And he's like, well, I made this smoothie and it's got, lots of fresh fruit and coconut water and some spinach and some really good stuff. And then I put it in an enema bag and
What?
Yeah. You said, poor Daryl, his face just suddenly dropped. I put it in an enema bag and I squeezed it up the ass of Crystal. And Crystal then jumped around and mixed it all up inside of her. And she's then shat it back into this glass. And so we've got the glass here. It's a lovely ass smoothie. And I put saran wrap around the top and I put it in the fridge. And I've got it here for you to drink. And the girl's like, is it clean? And I want to go, it is not fucking clean. No. The whole audience is just, you could have heard a pin drop in this place. People's faces are just like, people are covering their mouths. And she's like, okay, well, it sounds really good. Go. And the guy's like, how is it? And she's like, it's good. It was like, and I'm like, I am now wanting to vomit. And he basically lost the audience there. It was over. The show was over. He should have just walked off stage and given up, because after that, no one would laugh. Everyone is just like, their minds were stuck on the ass smoothie. And I'm just thinking, what? I mean, you can get really sick from that, can't you? That's like an enema.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely dangerous and not healthy. And hearing that makes me want to cry. I don't know why specifically, but I feel like I have tears behind my eyes that want to come out. And just, it is not good. And in no way, like, that's no comedy, right? Surely that's something else.
That's disgusting. Yeah, and then he did a lot. And yeah, I'm going back there. I just couldn't even believe it. After that, no one would laugh at anything. And then, like, every now and then, someone might, like, haha. And he'd be like, thank you. And, like, point to that person.
Oh, dear.
And it was so painful. I just wanted to walk out right then and there. But I thought, okay, no, I'm not going to be rude. I should have just walked out and gone, honey, you need to get a new gig. The ass smoothies is not working for you. But I mean, is this a real thing? Do you think, I mean, there's some sick stuff on the internet, and there's some really interesting fetishes. That was one I had not heard of. If this is, maybe I'm thinking, maybe he just made an audio, like had some friends, but they had a quite clear American accents, and we're in New Zealand, right? So if that's real, holy crap.
Yeah, are smoothies real? I suppose so. I mean, the thing is with pornography is that it's designed to hook you, right?
That doesn't hook me.
No.
That's the opposite of hook.
So if we take it to like a really basic level, like you've got your just regular vanilla porn.
Yeah.
Like people having sex or, oral sex or whatever it is, or masturbating on camera. The design is to slowly get you to click on more and more extreme stuff. So that as people chase that hit, they then just explore something else. And there's a little bit of nerves, a little bit of shock, and it goes further and further. So for people that have been watching pornography for years that are exploring different things, there needs to be more and more different material for them to find. So I'm not at all surprised to hear that there's an ass smoothie website, if in fact there is one, because nothing would shock me to hear.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you watch pornography, or even when you have sex and you get excited, right, your brain releases dopamine. You get this dopamine hit. And then as you continue to watch more and more porn, your brain is kind of releasing all this dopamine. So what happens in the brain is it starts killing off the dopamine receptors. It's like the brain goes, oh, this is way too much. It starts killing off those receptors. So you're needing a bigger and bigger hit of dopamine to get that same kind of feeling. And that's, I mean, I've treated, I can't even count how many guys for what they call porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Yeah, that dopamine is that first signal that goes to the prostate to trigger a man to have an erection. Yeah, I don't see ass smoothies as something sexual. It's very, I mean, there's some, what I find interesting is a lot of porn sites now, if you go to them and have a look, want a bit of a wank, there's so much that's like stepbrother and sister, stepfather, like it seems like it's almost all incest on the front page. Have you found this, or you're not looking at the same porn as me?
No, well, I actually don't watch porn. You might be surprised. Not very many men would say that. I have, obviously, in my past, but probably when I dated somebody that was addicted to porn, to pornography, and I read this book, The Brain That Changes Itself, and I really got to understand what was happening in the brain when people use pornography. And so I decided that I'm not going to use it. Because I didn't want to go down that pathway and become someone that didn't want to be intimate in a relationship because they were getting their cheap thrills from online, and that real life wasn't going to replicate that. I want to experience the joy of sex with a real person. So, but I have nothing against it. Absolutely do it. These are just decisions that we make in our life. But I do have clients that have porn-induced erectile dysfunction. And yeah, I've heard stories. So
I'm not a big porn watcher, but every now and then just have a little look. And but lately it's so off-putting. I don't know what the hell is going on with all this stuff around incest, basically. And it's like, is there a real
But it's not real, right?
Or I don't think it's real. It must be actors. I'm not illegal. Clicking on any of it, but I just find it incredibly disturbing. Like, is that the trend? Or is that just the whole things need, you need to get sicker and sicker and sicker, and the internet is just providing.
Do you know what? I'm on this app, Quora, where people ask some questions and things like that. And because I follow the topic of sex, sex questions and things, multiple people are asking questions like, how do you feel when you're walking on your son naked? Or is it normal to do this with your sister? And all these different incest questions. And what I think when I read this is people are actually trying to find people to share stories and get off on it. And I'm looking at, I'm like, unfollow, because it's a way to connect. And it seems like, if it's there, it's going to be in porn. If people are talking about it in Quora, which is meant to be for questions that, you ask the experts for help about, then sure, they're going to have that.
So I wonder if porn is kind of creating, I worry that it's normalizing incest. It's normalizing abuse. And it is illegal to have sexual relations with your stepdaughter or your stepson. It is illegal. Yeah, I don't know about stepbrother and sister, but I think still... Is it people's fantasies? But there's obviously a need because they're creating all this porn for it. So it's very disturbing. But anyways, ass smoothies. No, thank you.
So speaking of asses and inappropriate sex, I've got a story about an ex. Now, of course, I'm not going to name names.
No.
But this person is someone that the story's about them, but it's also about me, which is why I'm sharing it. Yeah. So I used to think I was a witch.
Used to?
I kind of stopped doing like spells and things many, many years ago. But I used to think if I cast a spell that things would happen.
Yeah.
And I thought that because when I cast spells, things happened.
I used to do that too, yeah.
But now I'm more like trusting the universe to provide whatever's best and not trying to control things. And so I don't do this anymore. So don't be scared. But back many, many, many years ago, one of my first boyfriends that I dated, I had a suspicion that he was cheating on me. And you know what I think often if you think someone's cheating on you, they probably are.
Yeah, not always, but yes.
Not always, but it depends if you're, you know, overly anxious or if you've had bad experiences in the past to if your feelings will be accurate. But in this case, I felt like, okay, I think he's cheating. And I set out to try and kind of figure it out. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't find any evidence.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to cast a spell. Mm. And I thought that he was cheating on me with this guy from work.
Mm-hmm. His work?
From his work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, he's cheating on me with this guy. He's going to be working with him today. So I cast a spell. And my spell was this. If you're cheating on me with that guy, every time you look at him, your eyes will burn. Mm. Your eyes will burn. And I just repeated it over and over and over in my head. And I think I played a song.
Burning Ring of Fire? No.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
To kind of, I used to think like if you got into the energy of what you were saying, it made it stronger.
Absolutely. Burn, baby, burn. It's so good we weren't friends then. Jesus, can you imagine?
Our powers combined.
We would have been doing all kinds of crazy shit. Well, which we do now, but anyways.
But we keep that secret now.
Yes.
No. But
just not doing spells anymore.
No, we don't need spells because now we're hypnotherapists. So
exactly.
Now we're magic for real. Mm. So I cast the spell and I went about my day, and I was out in Ponsonby with my family, and we were at this Italian restaurant, and I remember Prego, yes. Yeah, yummy place. And actually, opposite Prego, if you live in Auckland, New Zealand, or you're visiting Auckland, New Zealand, and you find Prego, the great Italian restaurant, right opposite is the best super secondhand bookshop in New Zealand.
Oh, yes, it's very good. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, great.
So go in there if you like secondhand books and you want to find somewhere that has everything, opposite Prego on Ponsonby Road. But however, I digress. I cast the spell, I get a call. Hi, I'm back in Auckland. I'll come and meet you guys for dessert.
This is your boyfriend.
This is my ex-boyfriend. I'm like, okay, cool. So I walked to meet him. I was feeling quite confident and strong because I felt like I've done what I can do now. Like I've put the spell out there.
Burn your eyes. Yeah.
Either it's going to work or it's not. And I saw him and I was like, hey, how you doing? He's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, how's your day? He's like, my day was really good, but my eyes kept stinging all day.
Oh, no.
I just looked at him and I put my finger right up into his face. I'm like, you've been cheating on me.
Yeah. Of course you did. What was his face?
He was shocked like he'd been caught, but he was like, no, I haven't. Yes, you have. I cast a spell to make your eyes burn if you were cheating, and your eyes were stinging all day. You have been cheating on me. He's like, oh, no, I wouldn't because I'd be too scared now of what you would do.
Did he ever admit it?
Yes, he did. Like, off the back of that, I was like, show me your phone. Show me your phone. And
all the crazy days when you lose your mind. Yeah, I know those well.
I was crazy. It's the first time that I'd been cheated on, and I could have been the last. I don't know, but
doubt it. Sorry, Head, but yeah, that's just life. Yeah.
I was jealous. I was hurt.
Yeah,
this
of
was,
course, it's awful.
First boyfriend, someone that I thought I'd be with forever, and I'd already found out he'd done something inappropriate with someone that was kind of on the line of, is it cheating?
Yeah.
And I decided to kind of move past it. So I was already nervous and anxious and feeling bad. And actually, I don't feel crazy for pointing at someone and accusing them of something that they did do.
Exactly.
And for catching them out and for getting angry for something that they did do. Yeah. And I'm glad that I did. What happened after when the relationship ended? Because he kept saying, well, look, you may as well stay with me because I can't ever cheat on you again. And you know that I can't because you know that you would know. And you know that I know that you would cast a spell on me.
Manipulator, yeah.
Yeah. So I did give him another chance. Mm-hmm. And he cheated on me again, of course. Of course. And so when we split up, I cast a spell that he would love me forever.
Yeah.
While I walked away and ignored him. And I'm not going to tell anyone any more of that story, but let's just say about 10 years later, I had to release him from that because I didn't want to torture the poor bunny.
Oh, good. Well, he deserved it, sounds like. When you know someone's cheating on you, I mean, It is the worst feeling, and you just know it in your gut. It's awful. I know for me, it's made me crazy in my life. I have acted like a crazy person when I've known that someone is cheating on me. And what I find interesting is a lot of times they turn it back around on you and say, no, you're cheating on me, and
or you're crazy.
You're crazy. And yeah, it's such a relief when you actually get the evidence you need. I became like a PI. I literally could, send you an email that would then keylog in and track every password you made. I would get a email coming back and showing me what exactly they had typed into their computer, what sites they had visited.
Wow.
I was a crazy bitch. But that was just one relationship where the guy was cheating on me all the time. And I just knew it. And it made me insane. And I needed to figure it out. I needed to find the evidence.
I think when you say it made me insane or it made me crazy, those are the correct words, because when someone's gaslighting you, when they're doing something and saying that they're not doing it and that you have the problem, that is the purpose of that behavior. It's to make you feel insane.
Yeah.
So you should not blame yourself or be negative about yourself if you've been driven insane by someone who's exhibiting a behavior designed to make you feel that way, so that they can get away with doing whatever they want because you're just crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had another partner who was cheating me all the time, and I knew it. I couldn't prove it though. And he would travel a lot for work, and I would have these dreams when he was away. And I've got another friend who's very, very psychic, Leslie, actually, who's on the podcast before.
Oh, yeah.
And I would call her up and say, I've had this dream last night. What do you get? Because we always played these psychic games with each other. We've been friends since we were 8. And she'd be like, oh, I see so-and-so. I'm not going to say his name. And he's in a hotel room with 2 blondes. Oh. And she would just repeat back my dream to me.
Wow.
And I'd just be like, holy shit, I knew it. I knew he was cheating. And she was like, yeah, I think he's cheating. And she would do that all the time. Like, I would have this dream. I would know. I would call her up and she would repeat it back to me. And I would just be like, holy shit, that bastard. But I couldn't catch him out. And then one time I found he was like texting some woman. I sound like a crazy person because I would check his phone if I could. Yeah. But I found he was texting this woman and he denied it. Oh, absolutely not. That was a business meeting. You need to have business meetings at like 9:30 at night in a bar. Okay. Anyways, but I went, no, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I know you're cheating on me. Fuck off. And
good.
That night, a friend of his called me, and the friend had just found out that his wife was cheating on him. And so he had gone out with the guy I was with, and they both were commiserating, and they got very, very drunk. So the friend calls me up very, very drunk and was like, oh, he would never cheat on you. I can't believe this. And I said, I already know. I just got off the phone with him and he told me. He's told me everything. And he was like, oh, he did? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And I said, yeah, I know about, his trip to Sydney, and I know about this, and I know about the time he went to Beijing and that, and he was like, oh, you know all about that. Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, that's pretty hot though. The 2 chicks in Sydney, which was exactly what my dream was. And he was like, the funny thing is we all laughed about the fact that you would know, that you would have dreams about it. We all thought that was hilarious, but you couldn't prove it.
Wow.
And he's like, I can't believe he's actually come clean. And I said, well, he didn't, but thanks for telling me.
Oh, yeah.
Bye. And hung up. And poor guy must have just shit his pants. Like, oh no, but he was wasted and he was already going through his own drama. And so then the next day, the guy I was with was supposed to help me move something, and he had like a truck that he could help me move. And so I thought, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to pretend I don't know, that I don't have that validation, and I want to just see what he does. And he literally spent all day as he's helping me move this furniture. I just can't believe that you would ever think I'd cheat on you. You obviously are paranoid. You obviously need therapy. You're a therapist. And yeah, it's just giving me all this crap. And I was just sitting there going, so I thought, I'm just not going to say a word. I'm going to wait for his friend to tell him, because I knew the friend would come clean, right? You would. You'd feel terrible. And so like 2 days later, I get this phone call. Why the fuck didn't you say anything? Well, you spent all day letting me, And I said, because I knew, I just wanted to see what you would do if you would rub my nose in it and continue this like act, even though I was correct. And I knew it would make me never want to be with you again. I knew that would be validation for me, that you are an asshole and I never want to see you. And it was like, okay. And that was it. We're done. So yeah.
Good on you. It's like, actually, I'm breaking up with you and this is all for me. It's the aversion. It's like remembering the worst parts instead of having breakup sex and then going, oh, but actually that felt good. It's
that my last memory of him is that whole like telling me I'm nuts and that I need therapy and then how dare I ever think anything like that. But the fact that him and his friends were all laughing at me when they were saying I was dreaming it. Apparently my nickname with them was Alison Dubois, who was the psychic from The Medium, the show The Medium. And I guess I look a tiny bit like the actress Rosanna Arquette. So they all would call me that and laugh about it and say, haha, well, she still can't prove it.
Do you know, that's the same thing. This guy I dated, I bumped into his boyfriend at a bar like a year or so later. And he's like, Daryl, remember when you were dating this guy? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you know how he cheated on you stuff? Do you think he could be cheating on me too? I'm like, yes. No. He's like, because he used to brag about how much he cheated on you. He said he cheated on you more than 10 times. And I'm just worried. He says he's not cheating on me, but I'm worried. And I'm just like, honey, like.
Oh, once a cheater, always a cheater. It's so cliche, but it's very true.
You know, I believe that people can change to a degree, but if you're bragging and making fun of what you're doing, you're not just cheating, you have zero respect for the people that you're dating, and you shouldn't be allowed to date. So yeah, that's the funny thing. Some people, after being cheated on, they worry about being made a fool of, about people laughing at them. That was never a concern for me, because I think, hang on, I didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly.
So if someone else is cheating, that's on them. That's them that can have the negative feelings and be embarrassed. Because as long as I stick to my moral code, I've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've met some people that are stunning, amazing people who have been cheated on, like supermodels who are cheated on. I mean, look at some of the, you see people in the media, and it's just it's not about you and that you're lacking in anything. It's about the other person, and it's not cool. It sounds like our cheaters got their comeuppance, didn't they?
Yes.
Karma's a bitch. So I read a lot. And, it's funny, as I read mostly just nonfiction for years and years, and I'm getting back into reading fiction, and I'm really enjoying it. So I read this book. It's called When We Believed in Mermaids. It's by a woman named Barbara O'Neill, and it was so good.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Just kidding.
Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, it's ranking. It's saying right now, number 7 on Amazon charts. I had no idea it was that high up. So the reason what attracted me to this book was it's based in America and it's based in New Zealand.
Okay.
And it's about this woman who, so it talks about how this woman, she watches the news one day. I think she's a doctor, right? She's a doctor and she's a surfer and she's this really cool chick, and she watches the news. I think she lives in like Central California.
Yeah.
One night she's watching the news and there's this report of a bombing or some type of like fire in Auckland. No, it's fire. I think. There's this fire and they're showing footage from it. And they see people coming out, and she looks at it and she sees her sister. And her sister supposedly died 15 years ago in a terrorist attack in Europe. And she's like, oh my God, that was my sister. And she's like, that can't be. She died. And then she gets a phone call from her mother, and her mother's like, did you see the news? I saw your sister. And she's like, holy shit, and it, even to the point where she had the same scar on her face, and she was a very kind of beautiful woman, very distinct looking. And so she decides she's going to come to Auckland, New Zealand, and try to find her sister. And it's a story of her coming to Auckland. And of course, she meets this like really hot, sexy guy right away.
As you do in New Zealand,
as you do,
easily.
But it's so well written, and it's beautiful book, and it goes back into their childhood and the trauma they find. And I don't want to give away the ending, but she does find what she's looking for. But it really goes into the inside of what kind of was happening to them in their childhood, and it wasn't a very good childhood, and all this kind of trauma and tragedy, but also just so beautifully written. It is, I highly, highly recommend it. I could not put it down. And I think it's, Amazing. For me, every now and then, I've always wanted to be a writer. I've written a book on quitting smoking, which is, it's always an Amazon bestseller in the smoking category. So check it out. It's called How to Quit Smoking Without Feeling Like Shit is the name of it. But after reading this book and also that one I recommended last time, Verity, I'm like, oh, I could never write that well. Like, these books are so good that it just actually has kind of put me off of ever writing fiction because
But you're a hypnotherapist, so all you have to do is read a few more of these books like that and then channel. Just step into the body of the writer, step into the energy.
Hello.
And you can do it.
Yeah, that's true.
But, if you've got a good story, you can learn the other stuff. I like a good book that's well written. If you've got good characters and it's well written, they could be doing something boring and I'm interested. They could be making cups of tea, but if it's described in a really cool way and I'm really intrigued by the characters, I read about them making cups of tea all day.
Yeah, it's so well written. When We Believed in Mermaids.
When We Believe in Mermaids.
Yeah, I'll put the title in the notes, but Barbara O'Neill, fantastic. One of the best books I've read in years. I keep saying written, don't I?
Yeah.
Freudian slip. I must be wanting to write again.
I'd say so. Cool. So I've got a book to recommend, and it's called This Naked Mind.
Oh, yes.
You know it?
I know it well. It's a great book.
By Annie Grace.
Yes.
And she's a woman who, like a lot of people, succumbed to peer pressure working. I think she was in law, but at least corporate, and she was just drunk too much to keep up with the boys.
Yeah.
And it became just a part of her life to be cool and see how much you can drink. And that's something I really resonated with coming from Scotland, where the more you could drink, the cooler it was. So we drink often and we drink a lot. And so anyway, this carried on into her adult life until she found that she was drinking 1 or 2 bottles of wine a night. Now, I'll let you read it. I won't give you too much detail, but she went on this big journey of discovery about alcohol. Mm-hmm. So rather than going through any struggles or going to AA or anything like that, she decided to find out about alcohol and what it was doing to her and what it was doing to her mind and what were the neurotransmitters involved and the dopamine and why she kept reaching for it. And she would experiment with drinking and not drinking and trying to find a way to become really, really peaceful with happily choosing to not drink and not having any withdrawal and just feeling really great about it. And so for me, I was at the time when I read this a wee while ago, I was drinking wine regularly and enjoying it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'd stop to think, am I in control of the drinking or is it in control of me? I don't really care about testing that out right now. And so it was a relief to test it out and go, actually, I'm fine. I could drop the alcohol and not care. But what I didn't expect was that when I put the alcohol down, that like Annie in her book, I enjoyed life more. I thought when I read it that she was making suggestions that, you'll have more fun at parties because you'll be more confident. I thought, bullshit. And so I started doing it at one place at a time. First, I wouldn't have a drink at home. And then I'd go out to dinner and not drink at dinner. And I would rank out of 10 how I felt for fun, for peace. And I noticed that my numbers were always higher than I drank them when I was drinking.
Interesting.
And so I decided to take the concept onto a night out. So again, this was not at the same time as making a decision to stop alcohol. It was just experiment. I went to the nightclub and danced all night and I didn't have any alcohol. And oh my God. Okay, yes, I was a little bit more nervous in the beginning, but I just tuned into my 16-year-old self who used to go to nightclubs without alcohol and have a great time. And I felt young and I felt full of energy and I felt vibrant. And I felt like I could feel the energy of the whole room when the music changed and went up a beat and the whole room moved and started pulsating and dancing. It's like before when I was drinking, it would be like a local experience.
Yeah.
Whereas
more dulled down,
even though I thought it felt better, but it was like, it was my experience. When I had alcohol, it was just what I was feeling.
Yeah.
But when I had no alcohol, it was like I was feeling the energy of the whole room lift at once. And it was ecstatic. It felt amazing. And I was buzzing going home from this. So anyway, I followed her suggestions of experiments that you can do and afterward made new choices. So, at the moment I'll still drink at Christmas, on holiday, things like that. But most of the time I'm like, actually, do you know what? I feel happier and healthier without it. And for those of you that are drinking like more than you want to, I think sometimes we're told like either you're fine and you can drink as much as you want, or you're an alcoholic that should never have been drinking in the first place and can never drink again. Annie, what she does is she actually says, this is based off of bullshit. This is not based on science.
Yeah.
And she gives you an alternative thing that every single person that drinks is on a slope that eventually will lead to addiction.
Yeah.
And everyone is susceptible. There's not a personality type that's more susceptible than others. It's not genetic, although personality and genetics do factor. She's saying everyone that drinks is at risk. And we like to separate the people that have fallen off the edge in order that we feel safer doing it ourselves. She's saying, do not feel safe doing it.
Yeah.
Any amount of alcohol is dangerous. It can be addictive to anybody. But actually, just because you're drinking more than you want to right now does not mean that you're an addict.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you to read it, but I'll finish with a caveat of, if you're drinking a lot and you want to stop, speak to your GP first, because it can kill you.
Yeah, stopping suddenly if you are alcohol dependent. Absolutely. You do want to do that. And a supplement that's very good as well, I'm sure I've talked about this a million times, is vitamin B3.
Yeah.
It used to be part of the original AA protocol. And the guy who started AA, Bill W., that's kind of how he got sober, and he felt a lot better for the first time. And so he told all his other friends that were addicted to alcohol, and they all started talking about this vitamin therapy. And that's a big part of how AA started. But as it got bigger and bigger, doctors kind of banned them from talking about this vitamin. Vitamin B3 raises GABA in the body. So it's very common. And GABA is the kind of one of the neurotransmitters you get from alcohol that makes you feel nice and relaxed and calm. So I think there can be a genetic component, but it doesn't mean you personally will become an alcoholic because of that. But like you said, I think everyone is susceptible to addiction in some way.
I mean, the fact that people need that drink on a Friday night, after a busy week at work, and they crave it, that's a form of addiction,
And it's habitual as well. You just get into these habits. And like for me now, I hardly ever drink. I just drink, like you said, like kind of on holidays. I don't tell myself I can't drink, but most of the time I don't. But if I feel like it, I can. I don't really drink at home, but I feel so much better.
I think as well that, we reframe the word addiction, because it's a dirty word, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like and you feel so much better not doing it, but you want to do it sometimes, or you want to do it on a Friday. I'm not here to judge. I'm Scottish. Everyone I ever met till I moved to New Zealand always drunk, and they drank a lot. And I drunk most of my life, and I've drunk a lot. So I'm seriously not here to judge.
New Zealanders drink a shit ton as well.
A ton.
Yeah. So now we both had issues with alcohol in the past. So we're not judging you, but both of us, having cut it way back, feel a lot better, don't we?
Yeah, I felt the happiest that I felt in years, and the most peaceful, and the most healthy, and my body thanks me.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was easy. So read that book if you're interested, or there's an audiobook version of it, Audible. And what have you got to lose? If you don't like what you hear, you can just ditch it.
Exactly. And she addresses the subconscious mind in that as well.
She does.
Yeah, which I like that as well. Because your subconscious mind is what drives your behavior and your habits. And so a lot of people tell themselves they're going to stop drinking. But if you don't address that in some form with the subconscious mind, I think it's a hell of a lot harder to change it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to look at which part of you drinks. What's driving you to do it.
Yeah.
And why there's that absence in the first place of that GABA or that dopamine or whatever it is that makes you do it. And is it just a habit that you didn't realize that you hung on to, that you no longer need, that you could just put down just as easily as you could stop biting your nails or shopping at a certain food store? It could just be that easy, just to completely change your whole life and feel amazing.
Yeah. Good recommendation.
Thank you.
Well, that's us. That went in some very random, sometimes weird places.
I was thinking like, what the fuck, actually.
But that's the title of this podcast. So if you liked what we had to say, please give us a review or tell your friends. And if you want to write to us, if you have a question, I'm still thinking about that question we got earlier. But if you have a question, feel free to write to us at WTF Stories and Advice, and we're happy to answer it. We may answer it in a way that you're not expecting, or we do like to have a laugh. We're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you. But yeah, life's about having fun. I think, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Laughing diffuses energy. So yeah, just please don't give us 1 star if it was you that we laughed at. But if you do, we'll know it's you that has the sore clit.
All right, on that note, bye.
Bye.
There goes a sight from my soul.